Welcome, wanderers, lightworkers, seekers on the path, all awakening beings. Welcome to the Sons of the Law of One social podcast. I am Glenn Pendleton, your humble host and presenter, and this is episode number 2, the teachings for the 4th Density Aquarian, Volume 1, Part 1. The authors are Chief Little Summer and his wife Warm Night Rain. They are chief of the Hawk clan, Shawnee Nation. The Shawnee are descendants of the Maya. You may acquire the 4 volumes of the teachings and their many other good works at piquapress.com, Piquapress. This is the first in a series of readings from the teachings. The Wanderer's Dilemma. Earth is a planet of sorrow. It is a planet of loneliness. Even the most comfortable suffer from alienation. Humans have this great tendency to lose themselves in dreams, in chemicals, or in work. They claim they want to forget, but really what they want is to remember. It is our hope that the words of this book will cause you to penetrate the forgetting. The Earthman actually wants to come home. One must go within and find the self, and then the road home is lighted and smooth. Few know how to do this. Conversing with your higher self through the Kundalini meditation is the way. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is the path. As you think upon these things, in all sincerity, we may say to you, Earthman, welcome home. Come home with us to your place amongst the stars, which in reality is your true home, where you have the innate longing to be. Some will recognize that certain forgotten thread of memory that will reveal that you have indeed been there, you are from there, and by George, you'd like to go home. The time is at hand. The season is upon us. It is time to go home. We wish to help you remember your purpose for incarnating in this space-time, that you might fulfill and be satisfied with the mission that you have chosen but have forgotten. In a way, we offer you your ticket. You paid the fare by incarnating. The season is at hand. The earth changes are inevitable. The vibration from 3rd to 4th density is being accelerated, and because time is now so short, we do have the permission, the privilege, and the honor to share with you certain practices, techniques, and knowledge. We have waited a long, long time for this opportunity, and we are most grateful. We look forward to even greater things which lie in the future, things you will discover shortly. Man incarnate. It is our intent to open your mind like a door, the key to which is silence. We wish to put you in working contact with your higher self. We want you to be able to do that, not at random, not by happenstance, but when you choose, when you decide at your will to contact your higher self. To follow in the footsteps of man, you must be consciously in control and responsible for yourself at all times. This cannot be entrusted to another. As you develop this rapport with your higher self, you can see just what it is that your higher self has in mind for you. In all probability, the goal of the soul is different than the goal of the personality. It's just the way that it happens. They seldom, if ever, coincide. The soul, being multidimensional, has a far greater perspective than the personality could ever hope to achieve, being locked in a human body. You, the personality, were born without a memory. This is a terrible handicap. You cannot remember all of your past lives and all of your experiences that have accumulated for thousands of years. You had to be taught everything that you know. You had to go to school. But this is not the only planet in the universe where this sort of thing happens. Born without a memory is a handicap that you will not be encumbered with much longer. However, this lack of memory does provide tremendous catalysts that cause the entity to learn hard lessons fast in a sincere way, which stimulates the soul's overall growth by leaps and bounds. In the long run, it has been a good system. Entities from all over the universe have chosen to incarnate here for a few times just to pick up a lesson or two that they neglected when taking their third density lessons on another planet. As the time left for this density grows short, we yearn for the return of our memory. Lack of memory has had its advantages in terms of soul growth, but from the point of view of the personality, it is most difficult as it is tedious. And in this old vale of tears, it does indeed provide one terrible handicap for those of you who have a recollection or even a faint recollection of what life is like in other parts of the galaxy. It is you who have the first recollection of times on other planets that plays the role of the displaced person. Such is the lot of the wanderer on a speck of dust called planet Earth. The densities. It is not our intent to confuse you with terminology, nor would we be intentionally obscure. We are no longer bound by third density law to camouflage the truth in order that these words might be palatable for the masses. You may have already observed that. You have seen the descent down into matter through the 7 planes through the process of fragmentation. All that goes down must come back up. Literally, everything cycles. The path back home to the social memory complex is accomplished through the densities, of which there are also 7. A density is experience, a level of experience where the soul accomplishes a status of evolution through catalysts that are available to it through the laws that govern that particular density. When the soul has learned a sufficient number of lessons offered by that density, through countless incarnations of its own ego personalities, then that soul is graduated or harvested into the next higher density. And so the process goes until the souls have returned into their particular spirit, and the spirits have returned unto the personal gestalt or social memory complex. This is the process of going home, a longing that throbs deep within the breasts of us all. The densities are numbered opposite the planes. The lowest density is the first, the highest is the 7th. If for no other reason, it will keep you on your toes, mentally speaking, of course. Like the chakras, the densities correlate with the rays. We shall now acquaint you with all 7 densities and a brief description of each. We shall return with lengthy, detailed descriptions of the first 4 densities, the ones which concern you the most. The first density is the mineral kingdom, and it is of the red ray. The second density is the plant and animal kingdom, and is of the orange ray. The third density is of men, humans, and is of the yellow ray. The fourth density is of man, and is of the green ray. The fifth density is also of man, and is of the quasi-state, and is of the blue ray. The sixth density is the social memory complex, and utilizes the indigo ray. The seventh density is the creator, and is the violet ray. As in the crown chakra, the violet ray is the summation of all the other rays. You shall note that densities 7, 6, and 5 correlate quite nicely with planes 1, 2, and 3. These top 3 are often thought of as the Godhead. The spiritual status of an entity soul is based upon density and whether that status is low, middle, or upper in the particular density. Universal man thinks of himself in terms of densities. Humans tend to think of their spiritual status in terms of planes, and they should. Being of third density and always being obliged to incarnate on this planet, there is small profit in concerning oneself with higher densities that seem to be but a phantom. Since there is no intercourse with fourth density man upon planet Earth at this time, and there hasn't been for quite some time, man per se is portrayed as something to defend against and destroy whenever possible. Humans follow their axiom: if you cannot understand it, fear it and destroy it. With this attitude so prevalent over the surface of the world, is it any wonder that man has placed this planet of sorrow under quarantine? First density. First density is the mineral kingdom. The red ray you have always with you. Wherever there is manifested matter, there is also red ray. The planet Earth is of first density, and it has been for some 4.5 billion years, and shall continue to be so as long as she physically exists. Minerals are made up of atoms. Atoms are energy. Energy is intelligent. Therefore, minerals have a consciousness, but they are not aware of themselves. This mineral consciousness can be communicated with by higher consciousness. A higher consciousness may incorporate itself within the mineral conscious at any time and for long as it desires, in order to experience a sphere from the perspective of the parts of the sphere itself. This is how a planet is monitored and experienced. It is experienced for a higher consciousness. It is an honor to the mineral conscious to serve as hostess for this experience. This is an act of love and is practiced by all higher entities. First density is not harvestable into second density. Once a mineral, always a mineral. However, in its span of existence, that mineral may be occupied by millions upon millions of entities, and they have come to experience and pay their tribute of love. Sooner or later, all pass away, is the motto of first density. Second density. Second density consists of plants and animals, and it operates on the orange ray. This is the ray of change. The Earth supports second density also. Second density has been firmly established on this planet for almost 1 billion years. In this density, entities are of the group soul. Within this density, there are many, many graduations from a lower species to that of a higher species. The minimum time that a group soul must remain within a given species in its evolution is 1,350 years. When a group soul leaves a species to enter a higher species, the former species does not cease to exist. Another group soul simply moves up to take the place. The species are the vehicles through which the group soul evolves. Sometimes plants and animals evolve to preserve their species, but not always. The stately tree is the highest evolved of the plant kingdom. On the prairie it can stand alone. Even in the woods, it is one of a kind and stands alone as an individual. Animals, warm and cold-blooded, migrate through the species to their highest form, the house cat. Most felines function as individuals and are fiercely independent, with the notable exception of the lion, which operates in prides. The house cat has chosen to live among humans for the experience of dwelling closely to third density. Having spent at least 1,350 years as cats or trees, this group is then eligible to individualize and incarnate into third density vibration, which on this planet would be the human form. To give you some idea of what the group soul is like, we offer the example of the school of fish. There are no individuals here. The total school will respond to stimuli simultaneously and identically as if they all thought with one mind, and they do. Permit us the analogy of a higher form of the group soul, the cat. When a litter of kittens is born, say 5, all 5 have the same soul. The single soul is divided equally into 5 parts. After weaning, each part, or kitten, sets out into the world to express itself and gather experience. One by one, they meet death. Not until the 5th one has died does that soul begin to evaluate itself. Sometimes the 4 will prod the 5th to get on with it, so that the reunion might take place. When all 5 parts are once again back together, and all 5 experiences have been shared and integrated, then, and only then, would that soul choose another pregnant female for further knowledge and experience. And so it goes until the soul feels that it has had sufficient experience knowledge to have a go at 3rd density. It then offers itself for harvest. It is difficult to evaluate a tree, although some trees do seem to have more personality than others. However, in the case of house cats, we are certain that the reader has noticed some cats that were absolutely inept at the art of cathood. It is relatively easy to distinguish between the old soul cat and the young soul cat. All planets are 1st density. Not all planets are adorned with 2nd density. 2nd density also is not aware of itself. It perceives itself as a unit, and later as part of the unit. 2nd density is born with a memory, and therefore does not have to be taught. Birds and animals in their great migrations remember from past lives experiences what to do and precisely how to do it. There is no such thing as instinct. 2nd density views birth as parts separating and death as parts coming back together. A tree is aware of its probable existence some 50 years before it is a seedling, and is aware of its existence some 50 years after it has died or been cut down. The laws that govern 2nd density are different than the laws of 1st and 3rd density, even though all 3 exist in the same space-time. 3rd density entities utilize 1st and 2nd density for their materials and foodstuffs. This is always upsetting, especially when a species or mineral deposit is devastated or depleted. The balance is upset and harmony is lost. 1st density is forever adjusting itself to the whims of humans. The 2nd density mourns the loss of a species. When a species has reached a point where it can no longer function as a vehicle to gather experience, then the density phases that species out. This has happened many times. But when that species is eliminated before its natural time or devastated by wanton destruction, then a critical imbalance sets in. Often as not, to compensate, overcompensation takes place, and the problem is compounded by an excess of something else. Humans are forever trying to maintain a balance in 2nd density that should never have been tampered with in the first place. The purpose of 2nd density is to individualize the group soul. 2nd density can survive quite nicely without 3rd density, but would have difficulty graduating into 3rd without the presence of 3rd density. 3rd density cannot survive without 2nd density. 3rd density. 3rd density on this planet is the realm of men, the human being. It is the yellow ray, the ray of emotions. When this 3rd density began on this planet some 75,000 years ago, the real issue at hand was survival. That concept hasn't changed much at all. Perhaps the form and needs have changed, and they have, but the basic question is still the same: survival. From the perspective of spiritual evolutionary growth, the purpose of 3rd density, which is now coming to a close, is the same as it has always been: the discovery of oneself or self-awareness. It sounds so simple, one wonders why it takes so long just to accomplish self-identity. The cats and trees of 2nd density were all individualized at the time of their harvest. So what is the big difference? The human is equipped with logic and reason, and that takes a lot more getting used to than first meets the eye. One must learn to think as an individual and not part of the culture's attitude which has been programmed into a species for millions of generations. If you think self-awareness is easy, just look at your history. Check yesterday's newspapers. Take a long, hard look at the culture to which you are a part. And one can see just how difficult it really is to actually be aware, be self-aware, to be independent, to express individuality. We say this with tongue in cheek. Of all the things that the masses are, awareness of self is not one of them, and this is a shame. They have had 75,000 years and countless lifetimes to discover this, and they have chosen not to. When you are asked, "Who are you?" do you respond with, "I am that I am"? Or do you list the organizations to which you belong, the schools you attended, the firm for which you work, the family which you were born into, your race, your nationality? How do you identify yourself? What happened to your individuality? What would be the probable result if you dared express it? Even at the closing of the density, the group soul attitude still persists. Individuality is most difficult to achieve when survival is at stake. In all the great civilizations known to humans, none really offered the security or the peace necessary to be free and individualistic. Actually, the human race has not come very far at all. The race simply chose a magnificent variety of ways to express fear of its environment and of itself. The great human experiment was not a resounding success, but it did indeed offer an exciting atmosphere where the soul could learn a variety of hard lessons fast. The 75,000-year cycle of third density is the shortest cycle of all densities. It is also the most difficult from which to leave. Humans are born without a memory of past life experiences and are therefore doomed to repeat mistakes. This makes for quite vivid lessons, but certainly hinders progression. In the early stages of the galaxy, third density entities were born with memory, as are all other densities. This was not as successful as it first might seem. Men could easily remember what not to do again, and consequently was not inspired to do much of anything new. Third density comes equipped with its own peculiar problems. When inhabitation had reached mid-galaxy, the galactic logos decreed that from then on, third density would be born without a memory. It would be well to note that the galaxy is in the form of a spiral, as is all energy. Life in this Milky Way galaxy began at the center of the spiral and moved outwards. In the early stages of life was a novel experience. Lessons were learned. Some things worked well, some things didn't. Through experience, the galactic logos observed the third density might prosper better if they were to be born without a memory. The 75,000-year span is divided into 3 cycles. At the end of the first 25,000 years, there was a harvest and none were harvested. At the close of 50,000 years, there was a second harvest, and 150 were harvested positive. There was no negative harvest. These 150 could have left the planet and could have incarnated on any fourth density planet in the galaxy. They had made the grade at last. None did. All chose to remain in the Earth vibration in order to help as many as possible make the upcoming final harvest some 25,000 years later. This act of love is overwhelming, jeopardizing themselves with the possibility of new karma and enduring an additional 25,000 years of sorrow, and the possibility of not making the final harvest just to get a few more to make the grade. That is true compassion. These ones are the elders. Our respect for them knows no bounds. Approximately 100 of these elders are incarnate on Earth at this time. The purpose of third density, wherever you may find it, is for the individual to become aware of himself. This is not impossible, but it is extremely difficult. This is why so many entities are obliged to repeat their density over and over, and why fourth density entities bestow such an incredible amount of compassion towards third density inhabitants. In its self-induced ignorance, third density is pathetic. Sorrow is the way of life. Joy is achieved only through stimulation. Purpose is cocooned in fear. Spiritual evolution is stagnated in ignorance. We weep. Fourth density. Now let us proceed onward and upward to a much happier density, the fourth. Now or later, all of you will become fourth density man. Though some entities choose to advance at a fantastically slow rate, there is no stopping, for stagnation is aboard. There is no retreat, for that would violate the universal law of motion progression. Fourth density operates on the green ray, which is the ray of love. Man of fourth density is constantly attempting to balance love with wisdom. You will note that forever and ever the entity is occupied with balancing something with something else. Balance is the key to advancement evolution. Fourth density could very well be equated to the mental plane and even the low portion of the Deva plane. This comparison is not the practice. We do so only that you might get a better grasp of the overall picture. Man is physical and therefore reincarnates just as entities in the third and second densities do. All physical life that cycles must reincarnate. This is the law of progression, which is a distortion of the law of motion. The electrochemical makeup of the body of man is altogether different than the physical makeup of the bodies of men. The appearance of man could be so similar to yours that he could walk the streets of your town and not be detected, unless he were given a physical examination. Man from Venus and Masar, which is Mars, looks just like humans. Not all fourth density man chooses to take on the physical appearance of humanoid. Only 11 to 13% of man care to look like humans. 87% of man look like something else. There are some forms of man that you would not be able to distinguish from the planet itself. They are immobile, which is rare, but their consciousness is absolutely equal to that of any fourth density man. Usually the vehicle of man is bipedal and much more full of life than that of humans. Telepathy is dominant. Words are not spoken unless chosen. Man is totally aware of the thoughts and vibration of his other selves. Man is an independent thinker. Though this fierce independence is never lost or ever abridged, disharmony with other selves is not possible. Love is the vital theme that motivates man in his thinking and his activities. Compassion for third density and devising ways to serve constitutes the vast proportion of their work. Man enjoys a universal freedom that is impossible for humans to comprehend. The word unlimited does not begin to tell the story. The physical body of man is denser than men, yet it is much lighter in weight. The chemical makeup of man is altogether different due to the fact that it beats to a different vibration. Man can walk amongst men if he spends a few days in a decompression chamber to lower his vibrations, and can and does deal with the disincarnate on the planes just as handily as he does with the physical. Because of the great harmony, physical catalysts are rare. Lessons are learned mentally rather than through grief, the frustration, the blood, the sweat, and the tears that are a way of life for human. Being born with a memory is a tremendous advantage man has over men. Balancing his overwhelming love with wisdom is the goal of fourth density man. Fifth density. Fifth density is of the blue ray, the ray of communication. Here words no longer serve us. It is difficult to paint a picture with words. when words are not a part of this vibration. We trust you will understand why we are unintentionally obscure. Fifth density entities may assume the quasi-state just as they did while yet in high fourth density. They seldom do. Theirs is a state of consciousness that has eliminated the physical altogether. Their work lies in balancing love with light. They are unbelievably mobile. A fifth density entity may choose to use the quasi-state to promote its growth experience. This means that it may change from the etheric to the physical, or from the physical to the etheric, at will, without going through the death and rebirth cycle syndrome. This status does indeed have its merits. When the entity reaches high fifth, it is completely etheric, which is a light being. This density may be equated with a third plane. Sixth density. The sixth density is of the indigo ray and is the home of the social memory complex. For all intents and purposes, here lies everybody's home or source. Here everything is perceived as light. Vast amounts of evaluation take place as the spirits return home heavily laden with the experiences of the personalities' egos, the souls, and the spirits themselves. When pieces of the experiences are missing, special envoys are dispatched down to the appropriate level for the makeup test of an overlooked lesson. Here the social memory complex works diligently with the indigo ray to prepare the path for its ultimate return to the Creator. There are positive and also negative entities. A negative entity may work its way back up the spiraling staircase of evolution all the way back to lower sixth density. Here it must flop over positive or else repeat the entire cycle over again. The latter choice is never taken. No negativity ever enters the Creator. Bathed in light, the Gestalt prepares and grooms itself in its preparation to enter the Creator, putting its house in order after all the children have returned home. Seventh density. Seventh density is a mystery. Probably we should stop with that. When the social memory complex is at the very top of sixth density, and all of the fragments have been reunited, and the gift of all of its experiences are in proper order and ready to be presented to the Creator, it stands at the threshold of the gate into seventh density, and there it looks through the gate and sees the Creator, in a beauty so great that thoughts cannot express it, so beautiful beyond description that the complex stands in awe. It has earned the right. It worked so diligently for so many, many millions of years to stand at this place, at this gate. It sees the beauty. It is filled with welcome. Sometimes the social memory complex will walk through the gate, never to be seen again. Now the created becomes the Creator, and this is eternity. Finally, at last, at one with the Creator, the one infinite Creator, the law of one having been fulfilled. Many social memory complexes have stood before this gate and looked in at all the splendor of beauty and longed to pass through, for this has been their goal since their creation. Sometimes, though, the complex will turn around and look back from whence it came and see all those many, many left behind who are struggling so hard and faithfully to reach the place where the complex now stands. As often as not, the social memory complex will take a step aside to reach down a helping hand to aid those who yet struggle, so that they too might come face to face with purity and truth and beauty. So great and deep is their compassion for creation that those of the social memory complex would postpone their rejoining the Creator in order to be of some further service to others. Now this, dear reader, is a form of love that goes above and beyond anything you might imagine. Love has many aspects, and this is the highest of all. Please go to Piqua Press com for more information on the teachings. Music provided by Iota Alliance. Album Chakra Meditations by Paris May. And you can get to them from a link on the sonsofthelawof1.com, the music credits page. That's all for now. Love and light to all.